early 1970s, during excavations of the cemetery of the Turnovo aristocracy next to the Church of the Holy 40 Martyrs, at the foot of Tsarovets Hill, Veliko Tarnovo, Bulgaria, archaeologists came across an interesting find. The burial of a large, about 2-meter-tall middle-aged man and remains of gold-woven fabrics were discovered. A ring cast from solid gold, weighing 61 grams, was also found in the grave. In the vast space of historical theories, where underwater rocks are misconceptions or evasive data from sources, researchers seek certainty in archaeological discoveries, material evidence of the past. Centuries of Ottoman rule in Bulgaria took away from the Bulgarians more than their political freedom. They lost their connection with their past, as victims of targeted destruction often became cultural monuments and monastery complexes that preserved the recorded memory of Bulgaria. Thus, unlike a number of other countries, the Bulgarian state has very little preserved data indicating where its greatest kings and military leaders rest. That is why the opportunity to stumble upon the burial of a Bulgarian ruler is so dreamed of for archaeologists. The closest anyone came to touching a figure who determined the fate of the Bulgarian kingdom was archaeologist Valo Valov in 1972, when he conducted research on the territory of the medieval Church of the 40 Martyrs in Tarnovo. Along with other burials, he came across an extremely interesting grave, initially noted in the documentation only as grave number 39. Soon this designation would become a household name in Bulgarian historical science as a synonym for the place that may have preserved the remains of one of the greatest rulers, King Kaloyan. For the Bulgarian archaeologist, it became clear at first glance that the discovered burial was extraordinary, its splendor exceeding anything he had encountered so far. The remains discovered by Valov presented to the researchers an exceptionally large and strong man, aged about 35-40 years, with a height of 188 centimeters, colossal measurements for the medieval world, when people were not distinguished by their excessive height. However, it was not the physical appearance of the deceased that impressed the scientists, as much as the extravagance of the clothes in which he was laid in his grave. The man was dressed in silk, gold-embroidered clothes, with 56 silver buttons sewn on. Later chemical analyses and processing prove that the buried man wore a skamarangi, an extremely expensive purple tunic, with decorative gold embroidery and pearls. On his head he wore a sudarium, a gold-embroidered cloth, a diadem of gold-woven fabric, a gilded wreath and several pearl strings. The deceased's feet were once shod in red leather boots, of which only fragments remain today, but whose quality workmanship and characteristic color speak of a ruler's dignity. The body was wrapped in a heavy purple cloak, decorated with gold-studded stripes and lined with red silk. What most amazed the researchers, however, was the extremely massive gold signet ring that the deceased wore on his right hand. It depicted a mythological griffin, and an inscription in negative indicated the jewel as Kaloyan's ring. King Kaloyan, 1197-1207, also called John Ivan Ivanitsa, was the third representative of the first generation of the Asenevtsi dynasty. As a teenager, he was a hostage of the Byzantine emperor and lived in his palace in Constantinople. Kaloyan was a talented commander and went down in history with the defeat of the troops of the Latin Emperor Baldwin of Flanders in the Battle of Edern in 1204 after Christ. His victory broke the power of the Crusaders, and in the following decades they were forced to return to their lands. One of Kaloyan's greatest achievements is that he managed to achieve recognition of Bulgaria and the royal crown from the papal throne in Rome and to restore the Bulgarian Patriarchate. The plate of the ring is round with two concentric fields. In the inner field, an engraved image of a predatory animal standing on its hind legs, with its head turned back and its mouth open. In the outer field, a circular inscription Kaloyanov Prynst, applied in negative, is read, which indicates that the ring was used to seal personal correspondence with hard wax. The Kaloyan ring causes one of the most heated disputes in Bulgarian science. Some scholars claim that it belonged to an unknown Tarnovo nobleman who lived in the first half of the 8th century. They support their thesis with the fact that the church itself, where the grave was excavated, was built in 1230, as mentioned in the Chronicle of Tsar Ivan Asen II, 1218-1241, after Christ. In addition, the inscription on the ring lacks the royal title. If the ring belonged to King Kaloyan, the inscription should have read, King Kaloyan's Ring. According to other researchers, there was another church on this site, older than Ivan Asen's. They suggest that King Kaloyan, who was killed under the walls of Thessaloniki, was buried near it. Probably, before the burial, the signs of his royal power were removed by order of Boral 1207-1218 after Christ, who seized power. On the hand of the deceased Kaloyan, only the personal ring from his youth, before he became king, remained, and the animal depicted on the plate of the ring is a personal emblem of Kaloyan. The ring is gold, of almost pure 23.7 carats and weighs 61.1 grams. The ring is unique both in its historical value and in its workmanship. It belongs to the so-called seal rings, very common in the Middle Ages. The envoy used it to seal his business letters and wore it either on his ring finger or on his little finger. The plate of the ring depicts an animal in a heraldic pose and has an engraved inscription in negative, Kaloyan's Ring. According to different researchers, the animal is different. Some see it as a lion, others a panther, and still others a leopard. In the restored Church of St. Demetrius of Solunsky, burials of men nearly 2 meters tall were discovered during archaeological excavations in 1906. Archaeologist Moskov suggests that the deceased were the founders of the Asenevtsi dynasty, the brothers Peter and Asen, founders of the temple. According to Byzantine chronicles, their cousin Ivanko was also a very large man. The skeleton on which the gold ring with the name Kaloyan was found also has large bones and is almost 2 meters tall. Valov himself dated the northern portico of the Church of the 40 Martyrs, where the grave was discovered, to the early 14th century, which, according to some historians, places the burial in this period, probably long after the time of Kaloyan. The inscription on the ring also showed some strange linguistic features that spoke of a later origin. The lack of an unambiguous opinion actually continues to this day. The arguments in favor of both theories continue to accumulate, and even now the deceased is noted as a Tarnovo boyar named Kaloyan, unknown in our history, or the Bulgarian King Kaloyan. It seems that the dispute will continue in the future. In the meantime, the mysterious noble deceased has been reburied in a hermetically sealed metal sarcophagus, where he patiently awaits the clarification of his identity. Today, a copy of Kaloyan's Ring is in the Museum of the Second Bulgarian Kingdom in the city of Veliko Tarnovo. The original ring can be seen in the National History Museum in Sofia. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to the World Chronicles channel and give the video a thumbs up in support.